Hey kids, the weather outside isn't that frightful. So maybe spring's coming soon and it will be delightful. That means we get out to see sports outside earlier than normal.
Yeah, don't count on it.
Oh, your negative Nancy uncle, Uncle Dave, Dave Height the Conquistador, raining on your parade.
It's still February. The weather doesn't turn until
April showers
April.
bring May flowers. And you're already raining on our parade in late February. February the 26th, by the way, 2025.
That is the maestro Kevin Crane, and this is your favorite politically incorrect sports commentary, Sports Frenzy 2.0.
So, we're in the lull with football. The combine really picks up when this drops. This will drop early on Thursday morning, February the 27th. That is the day when the combine really gets going. We've had the interviews with some of the coaches, some of the GMs, and some of them have been laughable.
Some of them have been pretty brutal.
But now the players take the spotlight over. So next week we will discuss what we have heard, or what we have, the buzz, everything coming out of the combine. But of course, as it is now with the modern player, they are not going to show their wares, so to speak.
Nope, they're really not going to participate. They're going to wait until their college pro day with the select few who they deem worthy, or who deem them worthy of a potential pick.
Yep, so we're getting all the mock drafts now, and they are all over the map, all over the place.
Good Lord, it's insane.
But we'll dig more into that the closer we get to the draft.
Yep, but you mentioned interviews. Some of them laughable and pathetic. Ben Johnson has not been laughable and pathetic. He's been very good.
Something I heard today encouraged me beyond belief. And it wasn't from Ben Johnson. It was Ben Johnson telling everybody that Caleb Williams is calling him.
Texting him.
Yes.
Texted him constantly during the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Breaking plays down, wanting his thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a kid who wants to succeed.
And I'm telling you, we said this almost a year ago. This was it for the Bears. This was their last shot in terms of a quarterback. They better get this right. I think I'm still 100% sure if they can't make this work with him, then they're just a flawed, pathetic franchise. But now they've got the quarterback,
the right person in,
and now they've got the coach.
Yeah.
There is no more excuses. No more.
Williams was set up to fail as a rookie because Matt Eberflus was retained and Shane Waldron was a pathetic joke.
Can we talk about Jacksonville for a minute, by the way?
Sure.
Now, again, I listen to a lot of New York sports radio, so they're already ripping into their head coach and their GM for sounding really bad. But I'll tell you what, we made fun a few weeks ago of Duval. Duval. And I love Liam Cohen. He did wonders with Baker Mayfield, but not a good look at that initial press conference. And now they bring in a new GM from the Rams. Now, from the Rams, you would say, okay, pulling your GM from the player personnel department with the Rams
might not be bad.
Right. His press conference, terrible, cliche-ridden.
Acronyms.
Yeah, not acronyms, but James Gladstone is their new GM. But just the whole, we've got to come together and,
build a cohesion and lay the foundation.
But the
change the culture.
The reason why I laughed when you were talking about the Bears is because their new passing game coordinator down in Jacksonville is one Shane Waldron.
Good luck with that one, kids.
Oh boy! If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was a
Not
betting
even
man,
in college and NBA. Oh,
if I was, yeah. If I was a betting man, I would say Jacksonville will be one of the 3 worst teams in the league next year.
they are going. Oh my God. They
Trevor
are doing
Lawrence-
Trevor Lawrence no favors.
I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next Sam Darnold. 3 or 4 years down the road, he's going to latch on to somebody, a good head coach, and they're going to turn his career around. So he's got to look at Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold.
And think, there is hope for me, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Geno Smith even, they're talking about giving him an extension in Seattle.
Ugh.
So just muddle through, take your huge, massive paycheck,
Which you didn't deserve.
and then move on to better and brighter places,
Yeah.
greener pastures. The Saints' new offensive coordinator is Doug Nussmeier. Now, of course, Kellen Moore had to take, pick and choose
Pick and choose off the scrap heap.
Yeah, because everybody else had already set up their coaching staffs.
Yeah.
And here's where we test our theory about some guys are great coordinators. Vic Fangio comes to mind.
Yep.
And some guys were not meant to be head coaches. So, we will find out with the Saints.
We will find out with the Bears.
Defensive coordinator, the new defensive coordinator for the Saints, Brandon Staley.
Again, we thought pretty good coordinator, horrible head coach. But a rookie head coach, even like Ben Johnson for the Bears, bringing in a really high-end coordinator who's had head coaching experience, granted failed, but they can learn from those mistakes. So, not exactly a bad thing to have.
Yeah, and we're still really, really early. We've still got the free agency period coming up in a couple weeks. Then we got the draft at the end of April. And I am fully expecting Ben Johnson to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
But I will say this right off the bat, right now here, late February, if this team does not get close to 500, I will be disappointed. I expect 8-9, 9-8, bare minimum right now.
With the wild card. I don't think that's unrealistic.
Now, some of this falls on the shoulders of Ryan Poles. And like we've talked about, are we going to solidify the offensive line? Are we going to get better defensive players? Is Ben Johnson going to be able to motivate some of these players who underachieved last year? Sweat!
Is he going to actually hold these guys accountable like he says he is?
Right. And I don't want them to give away a king's ransom for Myles Garrett.
No.
I'm hearing in early mock drafts, we don't even stand a chance in hell of getting Ashton Jonty. He's probably going to go 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So
we're looking at one of the top O linemen, which is fine.
Second best O lineman, and yeah. I'm with you. If Jonty's not, that you and I will argue about that. If Jonty's there at 10,
then you probably have to take him.
But if he's gone, you got the second best O lineman on the board. You take him.
Yep, and then you wait for the second round to look at defensive linemen because it's a really good defensive line draft.
Yep. We're already seeing some signings. So the Bills, even though they are supposedly in the market for one of those big-time receivers, whether it's T. Higgins or it's Devontae Adams, they have locked up Khalil Shakir, who still had 1 year left on his deal. So Khalil Shakir gets a 4-year, $60.2 million extension, $32 million guaranteed, which will carry him through 2029.
He's been a good weapon for him.
So at least you've got your number 2 locked up. Is how I look at this.
Yeah.
You've got and $15 million.
That's reasonable.
Not bad. Not bad. Now Dallas, with all the issues and all the problems they've got, amazing how over just a few years an offensive line that over decades has been considered consistently one of the best. Now has fallen to it's absolutely in tatters. Zach Martin, probably Hall of Famer. Zach Martin, guard, longtime guard for Dallas. I believe I heard that amazing number. 7 All-Pro teams, 7 holding penalties. Yeah. He has as many holding penalties as times he's been on the All-Pro team.
Yeah, that's impressive as hell.
Yeah. So...
In that, as long a career as he's had, single-digit holding penalties, that's a damn good player.
Yeah, now he's not a tackle, so let's, tackles have a much harder job.
Right.
But still, that's still unbelievably impressive. And of course, he came from the local university here outside of our recording studios. And then, of course, finally in the NFL, again, not a lot yet in the NFL. It'll ramp up again. But the Packers have been named. They have been outed.
Pansies, come.
I'm glad you said that, by the way.
Those frickin' wuss
I was worried you were going to go the other way.
Oh, no, fuck the Packers. The tush push needs to stay. Learn to defend the damn thing. One team has mastered it. Buffalo has tried. They've got a, 50-50 success rate with it?
Yeah.
Figure it out. Let everybody, it's a catch-up league. Eventually everybody will get it. Eventually they'll learn how to defend it. But until then, too bad, so sad. Suck it, Packers.
And we're not just saying that because we're Bears fans. Really, no. We would never, ever, ever say anything bad about the Packers.
Any chance we get?
If they had a legitimate, logical argument.
Yeah, but no, they're butthurt because they got beat.
No. I get tired of this. I get tired of people bitching. And remember way back in the day, they changed the rules because Peyton Manning would run the no-huddle so well.
Oh, yeah.
We have to hold everything up now.
Stop. We got to give the defense time to make their adjustments. They have to be able to substitute to match the offense.
But why?
Bullshit. Why? If your offense is ready to go, you let them go.
Yeah, that's, again, the wussification of football.
Oh, yeah. Did we talk about considering changing overtime in the regular season again?
Which just broke today, yeah.
Ugh.
Just broke today.
Oh, we're going to make it 15 minutes, and we're going to do stuff to not give the competitive advantage so much to the team that wins the coin toss. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Overreaction.
As I've said, over the last year, pretty much, I have given you credit. I think I give you a lot of credit for a lot of things, but I was defending Roger Goodell when we first started this podcast, and now I regret it. Because, man, he's an asshole.
Yep. And that's why the fans boo him.
God.
He deserves every moment of booing coming his way.
All right, let's move on to NASCAR. Because NASCAR really should be taking the spotlight here. At least in the brief period that it can.
Right.
And so, I will say this. The first 2 races I have been thoroughly and completely enamored with.
This Atlanta race was fantastic.
Yeah, you had 50 lead changes.
A
the
new
most
record.
Ever. Yep.
Yeah, which was set, was it Atlanta last year at 48?
Yeah, now not total leaders,
No, but official
lead changes.
lead
Yep.
changes.
Yep. And yeah, I loved it. I was in for every minute of it.
Yeah.
Thought they have got it figured out. I know you're not a big fan of the change in the banking, but
I don't like the dog leg that they threw in. That's the piece that pissed me off back in the day. I don't mind the new banking they have in there. That's fine. But damn, this was a competitive ass race.
and like a lot of people said, this is what you want out of Daytona and Talladega.
Yeah.
You don't want all the massive 15, 20 car wrecks. You want the cars to be able to move and shift, and
You had 3 legitimate lines that would move at any given point. Guys could come from the back and get back up to the front. Moves. It was a really good race.
and it might sound to people out there who don't understand racing, I'm not trying to be arrogant or cocky, but Dave and I have been watching NASCAR for, Dave, 40 years, me at least 30, 35.
Over 40.
It might sound antithetical to say this, but when the cars don't handle as well, it makes for better racing, is what makes the new configuration at Atlanta work.
Yes.
When it's too easy on Daytona, Talladega.
You're hooked up and you're just riding.
Right.
This, the guys are having to adjust and chase the car. Let up. Oh my God, it was beautiful.
Great race. Absolutely great race.
Although Hocevar needs to learn how to bump.
He finished second, but a lot of people pulled him aside
and had words with him afterwards.
Yeah. Ryan
he
Blaney, I
caused
know,
a
was one
lot-
of them.
he had-
Our pick.
Yeah, he caused a lot of issues.
Yep. Ryan Blaney, the pole sitter, our pick, still did well, but yeah, he pulled Hocevar aside. Chastain pulled him aside.
Yeah, there were a number of incidents that he was involved with.
But he finished second. But
To his credit, he survived it.
yes, and the winner, leading only the last lap, but that's
Yep.
all that matters, is Christopher Bell. So right now, 2 races in, you have got, no surprise, William Byron, Christopher Bell locked into the playoffs.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't Byron again, because Byron was a non-entity the entire race, and he lucked in to getting up there due to a couple of late cautions.
I still don't think he's got what it takes to win a title yet.
No.
He's
There's
got to get a little
something
bit of an
missing
edge,
there.
a little bit of fire. Bell, maybe. Maybe he's ready.
Bell is damn good.
Bell or Reddick, I would like to see step up this year.
Yeah.
If you're not going to get a repeat from Blaney or Larson. Dodge might be coming back.
We'll see if it actually happens.
We're looking at possibly a return from Dodge to the Truck Series in 2026 and maybe possibly the Cup Series in 2027 or 2028, as NASCAR has been emphasizing bringing in a quote-unquote new manufacturer. Of course, Dodge is an old manufacturer. So, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
We will see.
But yeah, they're looking at the Dodge Ram coming into the Truck Series. Nothing set in stone yet. But as early as next season, Dodge could be entering into the fray.
Now, is Dodge going to make overtures to Tony Stewart to try and get him back into NASCAR? Because he's got Mopar as the big sponsor for his drag team.
I can't believe Tony's going to stay away for that long. He's got that. Look at Jimmy Johnson, and look how Jimmy Johnson keeps trying to worked his way up through Legacy Motor Club.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson never struck you or I as the most competitive, Yeah, obviously he loved racing.
Right.
Multiple time champion, one of the greatest racers of all time. But you and I are Smoke guys. And Smoke, loves break. I mean, it's in his blood.
Just like with Larson and Bell. They're getting in any car they can at any opportunity.
Yeah. And so Stewart's going to get back at some point, sooner rather than later, in the Cup Series. You can't keep him out.
No. And he knew things.
Gordon with Hendrick. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys want to be involved.
It's inevitable.
Yep. Now, we talked at the last minute last week about the massive penalty, which still I have not heard any resolution on the appeal on Chase Briscoe. But there were more penalties that came down that we did not discuss.
Yes.
Both involving ballast issues. Todd Gilliland and Cody Ware were both docked 10 driver and owner points for that issue. Now, Todd Gilliland ran really well at Atlanta, so kudos to him for bouncing back.
Yep. Not a bad run.
Nope. I mean, the Briscoe penalty, though, was just devastating.
That's a death penalty
10
for the
points.
season. Getting docked 100, yeah, that'll set you back.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our picks for race number 3 of the 2025 NASCAR season. And of course, the whole schedule, again, has
It's
been
all jacked up, so we're going to
kerfluffled.
Texas to Coda.
The Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix.
At the Circuit of the Americas.
Shockingly, 7 of our 8 picks are in, but the one that's shocking, Aaron hasn't got his pick in yet.
What? No.
That's
That
a
is
little rare
crazy.
for him, yeah.
That's unusual.
That's why
He is the last one you would ever expect to be late.
he usually waits till the last day, whenever picks are due, whether it's football, baseball, NASCAR, but he'll get them in. He's still got 2 hours left, but kind of surprised after sending out the reminder about an hour and a half ago that he has not responded yet. But we have a crazy, kooky, nutsy, wild pick coming up.
Yep, Mrs. C going out.
But let's start with the same people, which would be you and I.
Yep,
And Sam.
and Sam.
The old guard.
The old guard of this crew.
Taking the easy way out, the safe pick.
Yep, early on we were playing it safe. Tyler Reddick.
And of course, the thing with Coda this year is they're going with the shorter configuration.
Yep.
So nobody's run this before in the NASCAR circuit, and at least in the Cup Series. So this is going to be a whole new animal.
Yeah, it's all bets are off. How many of these guys are going to try and sneak into an Xfinity ride? We'll have to see. I'm sure they've all got their rigs and are racing it virtually.
So again, Kev, Dave, Sam, all taking Tyler Reddick. Bill taking Alex Bowman. Nick taking Ross Chastain. Doug taking Ryan Blaney. And then Mrs. C
Going out on a limb with a road course ringer, Connor Zillage.
Yep, and that is allowed. It does not have to be a guy with a full-time ride.
No, you can take whoever's entered. I'm surprised none of us went with Van Gisbergen.
Thought about it. I did think about it, but I've got him. I want to see how he progresses in his first full-time season. I know one race for sure I'm taking him.
Oh, gee, I wonder which one.
Shut up, Dave! Dave and I, guaranteed, first 26 races, about 16 of them will have the same driver, at least.
Pretty much.
But if he starts, he looked pretty good at Atlanta.
Not
for
bad.
a while.
He was running decent.
But yeah, one for sure I've got him penciled in for, and then maybe
another one.
down the road, and don't be shocked if he pops up in the playoffs.
I know. There's one track there.
But there you go again. Recapping. Kev, Dave, Sam, Tyler Reddick, Bill, Alex Bowman, Mrs. C, Jen, Connor Zillage, Nick, Ross Chastain, Doug, Ryan, Blaney, Aaron.
MIA.
Shame on you! Still,
He's got time.
And of course, check out the picks every Thursday night. Our full slate of 8 expert panelists, all picks, will be posted every Thursday night on our Facebook page. So, check it out tomorrow night, kids.
There you go.
I have faith in Aaron. I do. I have faith in him.
It will be there. All is good.
All right, let's move on to baseball. Spring training is in full swing.
Ha! Ha! Ha!
I feel bad for you. I feel so bad for you.
Oh, the Sox are so awful. They're horrible. They're getting destroyed game in and game out.
Yes, they lost today. They're 0-5. But that's not even the worst news for the White Sox over the last week. You do know who they brought back on a minor league deal, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Trailer Park is back. Clevenger returns again.
Yep, Mike Clevenger is back.
No bueno. They're desperate.
The Cubs are undefeated.
They're looking decent.
They tied today. But they're still undefeated. 6 wins, no losses.
And a tie.
Yeah. They traded outfielder Alexander Canario to the Mets for cash.
Woo!
It's all about the cash, baby.
Cash is king. That's what they have to turn around and give to the Yankees.
Yeah, the Ricketts.
For Bellinger.
Yeah, the Ricketts, all he cares about is cut me a check. Cut me a check. I still have no faith. They will somehow find a way to botch this whole fucking thing up.
Yeah.
And I'm already hearing New York sports radio talking about, that's okay, we'll get Kyle Tucker next year. If not at the trade deadline this year.
Yeah. For a bag of balls in cash considerations.
Yeah. Sorry, Cubs fans, but I have been a Cubs fan since I was 10 years old. I know how this team operates for the most part. They are not re-signing Kyle Tucker.
No. Primarily because Scott Boras is his agent.
I don't care who his agent is. They're not going to pay somebody $30 million a year anymore. I don't know if it's because of the idiocy of signing Jason Hayward to that long-term deal that they got burned on.
That's probably it. But you know what? It happens from time to time. You just kind of have to deal with it.
Now, in other news, Aaron Boone gets a 2-year extension with the Yankees, which will carry him through the 2027 season. I don't understand why Yankees fans like this guy. He's never won anything. And so now they're going to use the excuse, well, the Dodgers outspend us, so we'll get to the World Series every other year, and then we'll get beat by the Dodgers, but that's really good.
Because we're making it. No, you need somebody to put them over the edge.
See, now.
And it's not going to be Giancarlo Stanton with his, oh, my elbows.
And the undisclosed personal issue.
Yeah.
That somehow is along with the elbows making him miss time away from his teammates.
Testicular torsion?
But come on. Come on. The Yankees were better when you had the old... Joe Girardi, can't believe that man is not managing a team right now.
I know. That's scary.
But Billy Martin, every other year, fired, hired. Fired. Lou Piniella, come on. And now you got Aaron Boone and the stat geeks running the team.
Balls.
So that leads us into a break from tradition. Now, I'm interested to hear what you think about this. As the New York Yankees, thanks to a pathetic, I'm sorry, I want to say something, I will not. But of all the guys, Johnny Damon cut his hair, shaved his beard. So many guys who have come to play for the Yankees have adhered to the policy that was put in place in the 1970s by George Steinbrenner. No facial hair, no long hair. And now Devin Williams all of a sudden bitches and pisses and moans, and he gets them to change the policy on facial hair?
I got nothing. I think it's pathetic.
I don't have a problem with it per se.
If they wanted to change it, it should have come down on its own from ownership. It shouldn't have been spurred by one egomaniacal player.
Well, here's my thing. And I know you've got a goatee, very good looking goatee. I love it, by the way. You look great. But it's well groomed. It's well trimmed.
See, that's the thing. You can't have these doofuses with everything shaggy, unkept. If you're going to have it,
look like a professional. Look like a professional.
Look presentable.
And that's my thing. Look like a professional.
And I think that's what the Yankees are going. It has to be neatly trimmed.
Yeah, but who's going to dictate what is neatly trimmed? Now, the good thing is they have still said no long hair in the back.
Gone is the mullet and the...
Yeah, I mean, I got a haircut this week, and I told the woman that cuts my hair, I said, God, I hate this every time, because part of me really wants to grow out the mullet. And she said, I told her about you. I told her about your glorious mullet.
From back in the day.
Yes, the pictures I've seen of you from high school, and then now you're completely bald. I'm like, oh my God.
It happens, kids.
Dave and I had the best mullets ever.
Oh, they were glorious.
We were brothers from another mother back then.
And we didn't know each other back then.
No. But, so I get it. And part of it is, again, being a professional. But these athletes act like they're not professional anymore. Oh, here's a check for $50 million for this year. Yeah, grow your stupid-ass beard all 6 ways to Sunday and look like a complete and total street thug, and we still have to pay you the money.
Yeah, no.
And if we tell you to clean yourself up, you go, oh, fuck you. You know?
Then
trade me. So
nope.
the fact that
bench for conduct detrimental to the team, no paycheck.
Yeah, the fact that Devin Williams of all people pulled this off. And then of course, the other part of this that fans are split on in New York is that they will not play Frank Sinatra singing New York, New York after losses anymore.
Why the hell were they playing it after a loss anyway? There's no reason to play it. There's no reason to celebrate a loss.
I guess they try. Here's the thing that they're not fixed on this yet. They're not set on this yet. But I think this would have been awesome. They did it once. They're still feeling out the process. That's life for a loss.
There you go. That would be good.
Yep. I think that would be an awesome song to play after a loss.
There you go.
But I don't know if they'll... But again, the society we live in. Yes, cranky, grumpy old Kev, get off my lawn. Why do we have to keep kowtowing to the weak, lowest common denominator?
Who wants to listen to an upbeat song after a loss?
No, I'm fine with that. But you're hearing, well, Frank Sinatra. Who even cares about Frank Sinatra? How about tradition?
It's your iconic city song.
How about tradition?
Ugh.
What do you want to play Jay-Z after a loss? What do you idiots want to play?
Ugh. Frustrating.
All right. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Because baseball seems to want to implode. Baseball seems to want to do as much damage to itself as humanly possible. Kind of like football.
Right.
So now, as of right now, ESPN and MLB, their relationship after 35 years is done. At the end of this year, ESPN will no longer, right now, carry Major League Baseball. Here is my question to you, Dave.
Well, they have to pay the NBA and they have to pay the SEC.
Well, let's focus on MLB. Now, ESPN obviously came out and said we're not paying the same amount of money that we paid in the last deal because you guys, MLB just isn't that interesting. And we're not getting the viewers. The problem I have with MLB's side of it is they signed deals with Apple TV Plus. They signed deals with Roku, which how many people actually get those streaming services?
Not many. The majority of your fans aren't.
I can't get MLB Network on YouTube TV. So that's about 8 million people who don't get those broadcasts.
You're screwing yourself.
I've already talked about how I don't, as a Cubs fan, I'm not paying $20 a month for the Marquee Network.
I'm not paying money to Chicago Sports Network.
So how is Rob Manfred, how is his brain trust justifying now pushing ESPN out the window when it comes to baseball coverage? Because Manfred comes out and says, well, they don't cover it as much as we'd like. So the partnership right now is done. Who are you going to go with?
Who's going to give you any damn coverage, dumbass?
How are you going to grow the game? How are you going to grow your game?
You're not. You are one of the worst commissioners of all time.
Dave and I always say, you won't put in a hard cap. You won't put in a floor where you force the lower level teams to spend money.
Hard floor, hard cap.
So how much more can we do? How much more can we say to prod you into running your sport the right way? And now you're cutting ties with ESPN, and we're not fans of ESPN, but they cast a pretty wide net in terms of coverage.
That they do. It's self-defeating.
I don't understand how baseball survives in 5 years. If you don't,
they have to get through the next collective bargaining agreement in 2 years.
If the bottom half of your league is non-competitive, and NBA, you take notice of this too.
Because it's coming for you. You're next.
If you can't share revenue properly, cap salaries, put a hard ceiling, hard floor on salaries to make every possible team in your league competitive, this is what you're going to get. Now, of course, Roger Goodell is trying to destroy the NFL in a different way, but we'll
get there later.
We'll bring that up another time.
Maybe positive news for the White Sox. Justin Ishbia, one of the co-owners of the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury in the NBA and WNBA, who has a billion-dollar business in Chicago that he started, withdrew his bid to purchase the Twins and instead bought additional shares into the White Sox. Potential. Very good potential for an ownership takeover.
For your sake, I hope so.
So
I know how much you hate Reinsdorf.
Oh, Reinsdorf has been a blot on the ass of the White Sox for a long damn time. 90s. He's the one who threw up the white flag trade when we were in right there for the playoffs, got on a good solid run, bailed on the team. He's the one that pushed one of the strikes. he's just not a good owner at all. And it's carried over to the Bulls now, too, over the last 15 years, where they're not doing anything there either. So he needs to be done as an owner.
Well, again, I hope that this Ishbia move ends up being a positive for you and for the White Sox.
Oh, God, we can only hope. God, can you
Because-
imagine having an owner in Chicago willing to spend money on a team? That's all we could ever hope for.
Well, my thing is, I don't want to look at the opposite. Whereas if they pull the White Sox out of Chicago, and then it's all New York and LA.
Yeah.
You got the Cubs in Chicago, and that's it. They become a single city franchise. But you've got two teams in LA, two teams in New York. I don't want
No,
that.
you can't have that. Chicago needs to have two viable teams, and we've got owners who don't get it.
Now, we do have the Robolumps starting to make their way in.
Is one of them called Robobo? Sorry, Venture Brothers reference there.
The first spring training use or challenge of the ABS system, of course, was the game early on with the Cubs and the Dodgers. They were the first teams to report because, of course, they're going to have to play the first regular season games in mid-March
Japan.
Over in Japan. But I think the ABS system is gaining traction. So we might actually hear sooner rather than later get the Robo-Umps involved, which is fine with me.
That's fine. I want the call correct. Yeah, the human element. No, we're at the point now. We want the correct call.
And you know what? I heard somebody, a baseball expert, the other day, I can't remember who, talking about the human element. And I'm like, screw the human element. The human element is on the field.
Exactly.
The human element is on the field. The players should not be robbed of what they achieved because of another human being
who wasn't paying attention or who has a grudge against that particular player, team, owner, whatever.
So I'm with you. I'm all for get it right. Because the human element is the players.
Exactly.
That's what these idiots who keep saying, the umpire, let's not take the human element out. The human element is the players.
They still have to perform.
Don't rob the players of their achievements. Whether it's something you would consider as insignificant as a strike, or catching a ball in bounds in football, or not having a toe on the line for a three-pointer in basketball. Give the players the credit for what they're doing. But I don't want to leave baseball with this negativity. I don't want to.
No, let's bring some positivity back to baseball on Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, CastBox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Of course, otherwise known as iHeartRadio. I like how you did that. Let's tie in. How about this for a fun way to segue out of baseball? Let's tie in baseball with what you and I have agreed. We've talked about this in the past. You and I agree out of the 5 Penta Frenzy sports is our favorite. The one we most look forward to, and that's fantasy football.
Right.
Let's tie baseball in to fantasy football.
Oh, God help us.
Toronto pitcher Chris Bassett, who has had a very solid MLB career. He's made a lot of money, but most players who get to the major league level do. But here at spring training, he had to pay a penalty for finishing last in his fantasy football league.
There's always a penalty to be paid.
So on February the 22nd, I believe they were playing the Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Bassett, again, pitcher, so he's not playing every day. He had to do two things. First up, he had to wear the record of his team from fantasy football on the back of his jersey. So he was wearing a placard, a sign on the back of his jersey saying 4 and 10. And then he had to be the bat boy for the whole day for the Blue Jays because he finished last in his fantasy football league.
That's awesome. So, and good for the team for letting that go.
Yeah, just have some fun with it. Come on.
Sports is about fun. It's a game.
So, going to try to do some of that throughout the rest of the podcast here. Have some fun with some other stories. Speaking of which, we don't have any college football news, but let's keep it light, keep it fun for a couple minutes at least. The one thing that I heard this past week from college football, somebody was interviewing Kirby Smart. Now, Kirby Smart, arguably, to me, is
one of the top
2 or 3 coaches in college football
right now, yeah.
And somebody gave him a list of players. Now, I'm not going to give you the list, but gave him a list of players and asked him, what do these players have in common, coach? And he correctly said they're all Heisman Trophy winners. And the reporter, I believe, followed up and said, anything else? Are they NCAA champions? One of the people happened to be Johnny Manziel. So Kirby Smart said Heisman Trophy winner, but then when the reporter pushed him about, well, are they all champions? He said, Johnny Manziel, champion? Maybe champion of Fireball. I was like, oh, man.
Oh, Kirby.
I love Kirby.
That's awesome.
Kirby's awesome. So, a little bit of a diss there for Johnny Manziel, one of the most overrated, overhyped players in college football history. Now, should we do Frenzy 5-0 a little early here?
Why not? We can do that.
So, yes, unfortunately, it's become a weekly little showcase here.
Yep, the crime blotter has appeared once again.
Yep, going all the way back to the Sports Frenzy origins. Back in the early 90s in our
cable access days.
Yes. And of course, we always get misty-eyed thinking about that and the people that helped us out at the beginning. Tim Richardson, one of the best producers ever. Still out there encouraging young kids to
chase their dreams as a filmmaker.
Yep. Love Tim. Always will love Tim. But there were so many others. But Frenzy 5-0 along with, on the weekend edition, Literary Frenzy, many other segments that have come and gone. But Frenzy
Sammy or Dave.
I'd forgotten all about Sammy or Dave. Yeah.
Which choice are you going to make?
Yeah. Sammy or... God, Dave, you're killing me. Sammy or Dave, I'd forgotten all about that. Because every time I think back to the old days, I think about when we did the Clutch Cargo.
Yeah.
And we only got to do that for maybe the last half a dozen episodes.
Yeah.
When we came up with that idea, the old Clutch Cargo and Greg Oden.
Yep.
14, 52, 16.
70-year-old man.
But yeah, Frenzy 5-0 was one of our featured segments pretty much every week. And yes, unfortunately,
it preceded the Dumbass of the Week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dumbass of the Week came on later, but that became an instant classic. Unfortunately, the Frenzy 5-0 segment is a necessary evil because of evil in the world. Well, evil, maybe a strong word sometimes, but
Stupidity.
former NFL punter Chris Cluey, who was always a bit of a nut fuck,
Yeah, he was a wacko.
was just arrested this past week in California, Huntington Beach. I did not realize, by the way, Huntington Beach, California is a Republican hotbed. So there are some sane people in California. And by the way, I know you and I always talk about California falling into the sea or becoming a different country altogether. Can't happen because of all the coastline they have and all the ships coming in from Japan and China. If we disown California, we're screwed.
Well, if they fall off, then we get new
What, Nevada takes over?
Yeah. Arizona.
Yeah. So we can't have them just go away as a country. They have to literally go away.
Yes.
But Huntington Beach, California wanted to put up a plaque after the election basically celebrating President Trump and MAGA. And Chris Cluey showed up at a city council meeting and was disruptive and basically tried to approach the city council,
That's
which is
a
not
no-no.
allowed. He knew what he was doing, and he wasn't going to be violent, but he was doing
He
one
was
of those
going to be a douche.
civil disobedience type things, and he got arrested. So, yes, borderline dumbass. I don't have a problem with civil disobedience because it seems like one side can get away with it and the other side can't.
Right.
So that's why I'm not going to say he's a dumbass. But still, he got arrested. He appears on the crime blotter this week for Frenzy 5-0. And then, I have to admit, I'm tempted here. I'm tempted. I will watch golf, the majors, I will watch the majors.
Right.
Outside of that, I don't really care. I don't care.
Yeah.
But the new season of Full Swing just debuted on Netflix, which is, again, one of those shows where they look at, it's like Hard Knocks.
It's an in-depth look at somebody or somebodies and
Hard
teams
Knocks
and follows
looks at the NFL behind the scenes. Full Swing looks at the PGA Tour behind the scenes.
And of course, through all this, you're only getting the positive stuff. Nothing negative is ever going to come out of these things.
However, if, this is still Frenzy 5-0, if you want to see more interviews and new footage of last year's Scottie Scheffler arrest.
Oh, they're actually covering it?
Yes.
Wow.
Scottie Scheffler getting arrested at last year's PGA Championship. The new season of Full Swing right off the bat.
Wow.
Interviews with golfers who witnessed it. Audio from inside the police car.
Ooh.
So, that could be interesting.
That could be intriguing.
So, if you kids want to check that out, feel free. Badasses, got a couple. If you'll let me indulge. And one of them is going to shock the world.
Gung, gung, gung.
I'm not kidding you. One of these will shock the world, considering it's coming from me. But first up, in skiing. Yes, in skiing. Mikaela Shiffrin. Mikaela Shiffrin won her 100th World Cup event.
Wow.
Back on February the 23rd. Impressive number.
Good for her.
Here's what's more impressive. Next closest, male or female, 86.
Damn.
Male or female. So she's
She
14
is
ahead.
all-time
She's
top
14 ahead
World
of
Cup winner.
anybody, male or female.
Good for her.
So never let it be said, all we do is talk about tits and ass in a bad way. Sometimes in a good way.
And there you go.
Way to go, Kev. You tried to do
Took
something.
a nice moment and you brought it crashing down.
Oh, wait. Here's the other one. My other Clint Eastwood badass of the week. I need a shot for this one. This is going to kill me to actually admit this one. My other Clint Eastwood badass of the week, Elizabeth Warren.
No!
Elizabeth Warren. Yes. Because she is actually trying to warn everybody about the Disney Fubo debacle. And she got in front of Congress.
We fucking told you all, and now somebody else who gets it.
Somebody
God
who I
help us.
despise with a passion. Somebody who I can't stand.
Who's actually gets this piece.
Is actually getting before Congress and saying, we need to watch out for this type of deal. This is not good for the consumer. This is not good for anybody.
Amen.
I just hear her voice.
I know, it's...
And of course, she's one of these people who claimed she was Native American.
And wasn't.
And took advantage of it. And
Yep.
Yeah. God, you know how much that hurts?
A lot.
Next week, it's going to be Joy Behar.
Yeah, right. And monkeys will fly out of my ass. And so now, kids, of course, we have to hit one of the sports that's currently ongoing, the NHL. And yes, we had the resolution to the Big Four Nation Tournament, where in Boston, the United States fell to Team Canada 3-2 in overtime. Ouch.
Now, did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it here and there. Hell of a game. It's a shame that it had to wind up going to overtime, though.
I watched the first two periods, and I have to admit, after that, I was like, little too much like soccer. Just not enough going on. I know there was some good hitting going on.
Good checking.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of puck movement going on. But
I fall into the same pattern when I'm watching any type of hockey game. I know the basics. I know, get the puck out of your end, and I'm just sitting there screaming, get the puck out of our end. Get it down to the other end. That's all. I mean, after two periods, I was just like, okay, I need to watch On Patrol live. I gotta watch something.
I need something a little
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, now games are back in play, and, of course, the Hawks picked up right where they left off, losing. Still sitting at 41 points, still a little better than the Sharks, but they're 17, 34, and 7. Gotta be so frustrating for Connor Bedard.
I was thinking about that
he
today.
is trying to do too much. I think he's trying to carry the team, and they keep shuffling his line around. Get back to basics, kid. Just get back to basics.
And that's what I worry about, because it sounds like what we worry about with Caleb Williams at the Bears, that you're going to take a great prospect, a top-level pick, and
destroy
waste
him, his whole mentality.
Yes. Yep. Because it's getting to the point now, this is 2 years in a row, where you almost want to print up shirts where Blackhawk fans should be wearing shirts saying "Thank God for San Jose."
Yeah, no kidding.
And they get the number one pick, and what's that kid doing out in San Jose?
Yeah, same thing. You get the number one pick because you suck.
And by the way, going back to the NFL, I heard awful rumor this week.
Oh, are they thinking of going to the lottery?
Yes.
Fuck the lottery. I hate the lottery.
Where it discourages tanking. My ass, it discourages
Bullshit.
tanking.
It's teams are going to tank regardless.
So you just don't have to tank as much. So if you finish third or fourth worst, we're still going to have a shot at the number one pick.
Exactly. It's no, just done.
There's no way in holy hell I want a draft lottery in the NFL.
No, that's the draft lottery was the stupidest damn idea anybody came up with.
Now, with the NBA, I kind of understand it because usually there's only one or two good players that come out every year. But with the NFL, we've seen
there's
it.
So many players, and the NFL can turn a team over quickly.
Yes.
Which, seriously, you have how many players on an NFL team that you have to put together, and you can turn a team around in a year or two.
And a shorter season.
Yeah. And here you have the NBA and MLB with fewer players, and you can't turn a team around quickly. That's a problem with those two sports. That's the problem with the competitive imbalance in the NBA and Major League Baseball.
And hockey.
And hockey. Hockey is getting pretty bad, too.
Yep. Now, I don't know if you care, but maybe this is a little bit of a tie-in to the weekend edition. By the way, don't forget to check out the weekend edition.
Your Saturday morning hangover cure. Your favorite politically incorrect pop culture commentary.
Your Uncle Dave and I this weekend will review Nosferatu.
Or Nosferatu don't.
Oh, okay. Is that a little bit of a hint? We will also review the first 3 episodes, I believe, of Reacher.
Yes, we will. Do we have season 1 of Dark Winds?
We'll talk about Dark Winds.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. We'll talk, and then, of course, with the first ever review from Cassette Classics, Hanoi Rocks, going back to the 80s, 2 steps from The Move. So do not.
And a book review. Robert Cray's The Big Empty.
So you're ready. You're ready for this.
Finished it 2 nights ago.
All right. And then, of course, we got our weekly look at Tracker and my weekly look at The White Lotus. So all that coming up on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. But the tie-in with hockey and the weekend edition, there is a biopic that starts filming in June about Theo Fleury. Hockey legend Theo Fleury
Interesting.
is getting a movie based on his life.
Okay. Whatever.
I don't know. I'm just reporting. I am just the conduit.
So we'll discuss that more.
I don't know if we'll end up reviewing that on the weekend edition, I guess.
Probably not.
Doesn't sound like your Uncle Dave is real thrilled about that.
I've been a Theo Fleury fan, so don't really care.
All right, moving on to another sport that you care so much about, the NBA. Yeah, I'm about done. What a wasted season this is turning out to be for the Orlando Magic, my team.
It's been pretty brutal.
29-31. They just got destroyed last night by the Cavaliers. 40-point loss. 122-82.
Yeesh.
I don't know what this team needs to do. I don't know what the interesting thing is. I was watching a little bit of basketball over the weekend, and they were showing the upcoming schedule. And when they showed the Magic, they show a player's picture next to the team. They showed Franz Wagner, not Paolo Banchero. So I think that's how far
Oof.
Banchero has fallen from
Oof.
grace, and he is due for a contract extension. So
Might not be happening.
is it possible they trade him?
Why not? Obviously, the chemistry isn't there.
Yeah, there's something wrong with this team. This team should have been. They came out of the gates guns a-blazing, and then the injuries hit, and now they're not the same team.
No.
Milwaukee's Bobby Portis suspended 25 games for a drug policy violation. So we always have to report that type of stuff.
Yeah, wasn't it the pain medication he was given was incorrect?
Yes, the wrong
supposedly.
Yeah. How many times have we heard that? And then, of course, terrible, terrible things going on in San Antonio, where their star player, Victor Wembanyama, is
Ouch.
done for the year with a blood clot in his shoulder.
Yeesh.
And on top of that, Greg Popovich will not return as head coach this year. He might be done completely.
Yep. He needs to be done to focus on his health. He has not been in good health for a number of years.
The oldest coach by far ever in the NBA. So, and the cynical bastard in me looks at the Spurs and looks at this and goes, this reminds me on the surface of what happened. Remember when David Robinson got hurt? And then they were able to win the lottery and draft Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden the Spurs drop back in the standings, drop out of the playoffs.
Are they going to...
Now, I will admit the Orlando Magic have always been really lucky when it comes to the lottery, but the Spurs are pretty damn close. And if they were able to pull this off...
Again?
Yeah. Get somebody like Cooper Flagg from Duke. To me, that would just scream conspiracy.
Along with the betting scandal that's rearing its ugly head.
What, college or pro?
Both.
Yeah.
So point shaving and fixing, and it's early stages.
Yep.
So.
Well, and you, I will say, you, years ago when we started this podcast, you warned everybody and said, this is what's coming.
Legal betting is going to lead to more problems.
You said they're opening Pandora's box. Just wait to see what's going to happen.
And, well, at least now, there's regulatory groups looking into it, and they're able to catch it. Whereas before, when it was illegal, it was happening and was going on and on and on, and you were lucky if somebody found out about it.
And I'll tell you this. You pick your sport. Doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. They don't care because of the money that's coming in through gambling now, through legal gambling channels. They don't care if you got a scandal here, scandal there, a player who gets suspended for life here.
Money, money, money.
The money they're bringing in
doesn't make a difference.
They love it. Now, a little bit of fun fact, a fun stat for you, Dave. This comes from, of course, my Monday through Friday politically correct, aka woke, Yahoo Sports newsletter. When they're not talking about soccer and women's sports, occasionally they will drop a nugget on me. Well, that sounded bad.
Yes, it does. You know, people do pay extra for that.
Yeah. All I can think of is Jack Black, Tenacious D. Drop a Cleveland steamer on my chest. But this should show you how bad the NBA is right now. there have been more 50-point blowouts. Okay, games decided by 50 or more points in the 2020s. And keep in mind, we're just halfway into the 2020s. More 50-point blowouts in the 2020s already, 19, than double in any other decade.
Yeesh.
The previous high mark was 9 total in the 1970s.
Wow.
And we've already got 19 halfway through the 2020s.
Nobody plays defense.
And we've had 11 in the last season and a half.
Yep, defense is gone, kids. Defense is gone.
Okay, a little bit of WNBA news.
Big retirement news.
Yes, we have lost a lesbian. I mean, a great player in the WNBA.
Diana Taurasi is retiring, 20 plus years in the WNBA, I think.
So.
3 national championships with Connecticut, 3 WNBA championships, and 6
what
gold
the hell
medals.
Is this? Look at
We
you.
were out at dinner last night and it popped up on the screen. We sat at the bar and it was there repeatedly going through the scroll.
I don't want you to ever give me shit
It's seared
about
into
me
my
watching
head.
Caitlin Clark games ever again.
It was on the scroll feed.
All I know is another lesbian has bowed out in the WNBA.
Wow, there you go. Trying to do my due diligence in reporting.
I admire that. I do. I'm just trying to keep up with the politically incorrect moniker that we proudly brandish every week.
So now she has more time
to
lie about.
Carpet munching.
I was going to say lay about, but...
God, I love those lesbians. Anyway, moving on to college basketball. Interesting week in college basketball. Even though the season is still going on, we had some head coaching maneuvering for the future. Michigan head coach Dusty May, because Indiana University, of course, we talked about Rod Woodson done at the end of the year, even though they might make the tournament.
They might squeak in. It's not enough to keep him going.
No. They're not going to rescind this whole resignation thing.
No.
But they might get in. They're on pace to possibly get 20 wins. But Michigan was worried that they were going to poach Dusty May, so they gave Dusty May an extension. And then in a very awkward situation last night, down in Miami, Duke destroyed Miami 97-60, but their assistant coach, Jay Lucas, is by all accounts going to be the next head coach at Miami.
So Duke's assistant head coach is rumbled to be the new Miami coach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And supposedly they've got everything pretty much set up. They've got to cross the T's.
Just
dot
waiting
the
for the
I's.
signature on the line.
Yeah. Usually this stuff happens right at the end of the regular season. Because they've got to get things going. I believe late March is when recruiting really ramps up.
Yeah.
So they need to get a coach in place. But yeah, he kind of came over, I guess, and shook hands with a couple of the
players.
Yeah, players and coaches, and kind of like, hey, I'm your fucking boss next year.
Yeah. Good luck finding a job next year. Good luck finding a job next year.
Hey.
I might keep you.
They're 6-22. Awful year. You know, I love Jim Larinaga. got him to the Final Four. Miami gets coaches from the top programs in the country and says, okay, we'll poach Duke's assistant coach. Notre Dame, how's that Penn State thing working out for you?
Yeah, not so good right now. Well,
12-15. So Shrewsbury, this whole recruiting class,
this next class,
they've been touting, he better pan out.
It has to. What, this is year 2 of him being there? God, you gotta almost give him 4.
And he's burned. He's already burned. He's had his one meltdown.
Yep, he cannot have any more.
Nope, can't do that again.
He burned it way too early. He should have saved it for year 3.
Yes. Yep.
Because this is a 4-year rebuild.
Yep.
As bad as Bray left that program, Shrewsbury went to the meltdown 1 year too soon.
I agree. There was no need to go there.
Not with
like
this,
last week.
Not with this group.
Last week,
this is not
we
the
talked
group
about
to,
this.
This is not the group to go to bat for.
Right, but he was trying to, last week when we talked about this, and the meltdown and the hitting the microphone, and he was trying to convince the guys coming in not to decommit.
Right.
So we'll see.
But we'll see. I mean, come on. They know they're going to be starting.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know this is going to sound odd, but I look at another program, Rutgers. Rutgers supposedly this year was supposed to be a top-level team, highly recruited players coming in, and they never gelled. And they are struggling to get to 500 this year.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about when I hear Notre Dame and this great recruiting class.
They don't always pan out.
And sometimes, God help us, look at St. John's with Rick Pitino. Somehow, he's done it again. And he's got a top-level team. Top 10 in the country.
Money. Where's the money going?
Auburn, though, however, in the men's side, still number 1, 7 straight weeks. Bruce Pearl has got that team rolling.
They're looking pretty good.
I have my pick for the brackets, and it is not Auburn.
Mine either. They're running too well right now.
But that's a few weeks away. Of course, we will share our brackets with you
once we get them in play.
On the women's side, unfortunately, Notre Dame is mediocre to bad as the men are. The women, outstanding. But they lost this week to number 13 North Carolina State in double overtime, dropping from number 1 to number 3. So Texas
creeps up.
Is now the number 1 women's team in the country.
But you don't mind that one late season tough loss right before the tournament.
Completely agree.
You get that loss out of the way.
That's like the slap in the face to wake you up.
Yep,
and
that's
then straighten
the one
you out. I
that you
love
have
that.
to have.
Completely agree.
You don't want to try and run undefeated through the entire season.
All I know is I hope the ND women, even if they don't win this at some point, beat the shit out of South Carolina.
That's all we can hope for.
Yep. All right, so a little bit of an interesting, another trivia thing. Let's put it that way. And you're going to love this. You are going to love this because this is going to confirm something you always rail about every year. So I'm doing this for you. But normally you say this about football. So this is going to apply to basketball before we move on. You love preseason polls.
Oh, God! Fuck the preseason polls. The biggest fucking joke ever.
But
no polls until 3 weeks into the season.
So can we give a shout out to my man, the Conquistador, for that point of view? Because I would just like to point out this right now, at this moment in time, Wednesday night as we record February the 26th, late, just a couple weeks away from everything getting firmed up with the conference championship tournaments and then the big dance. The AP preseason basketball poll. Okay?
For next season.
No. Here's what we're going to tell you. Comparing the current AP top 10
to what they predicted.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, right this moment. This is how dumb preseason polls are. 5 of the AP preseason top 10 teams
aren't in the top 25?
Absolutely correct. 5 of the top 10 they had in the preseason now are completely unranked. Not ranked at all, including Kansas, UConn, Baylor, and North Carolina.
God, I feel justified now.
Yep. So, feeling a little Raylan Givens there.
Yes, I am.
But yeah, I thought you'd like that. 5 of their preseason, the AP's preseason top 10, not even ranked this late in the regular season. So, we're getting here to the end of the podcast. Gotta tell you, I'm gonna do things a little differently. Last week, no moments of silence in our usual assortment of dumbasses. This week we're gonna flip it. No dumbasses. No dumbasses this week.
No, they're
I couldn't really find a dumbass.
No, nobody deserving. I know that's unusual.
But we do have a couple people we need to honor here as we wrap up the podcast episode in terms of people that have passed away. So I will start off with Mike Collier. Mike Collier was a running back for the Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers in 1975. And he passed away this past week. So thoughts and prayers out to his family and friends, Pittsburgh Steelers Nation.
Yep. Cleveland Guardians owner Larry Dolan. The Dolan family has owned the Guardians for a number of years now. He has passed away at 94.
And now, when we heard about that, you and I, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you and I, when we heard the news, my thought was, does this mean that when you were talking about the White Sox with Ishiba possibly looking at taking over a majority stake of the White Sox, now does this mean because the Guardians have not spent money.
No.
Don't look at the on-field success. You can, and it's great,
because
but they don't
of the manager
money.
That they had.
But they don't spend money.
No, they don't. They're cheap.
And that's what I thought was, does this mean now the family will sell the team and spend money?
Or will they keep the team and finally spend money anyway?
Right. Al Troutwig, long-time legend in New York sports play-by-play. This is going to date Dave and I. Big-time play-by-play man in the 1980s for the NHL on the USA Network.
God, yeah. Oof. Oof.
And the sad thing is, even though we're talking about him doing play-by-play in the 1980s.
It was only 68.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that? Oh, that makes me
He's been
feel.
around forever. Only 68.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Now I've got a couple that tie into your teams to wrap things up here. First up, Eddie Fisher. Eddie Fisher.
Part of the Rat Pack?
No. No. By the way, I know he's not part of the Rat Pack, but in spirit, who I have been really listening to a lot lately, Bobby Darin.
Mac the Knife.
Oh my God! Oh, the shark speaks with its teeth, babe.
Another teaser for the weekend edition.
Beyond the sea, somewhere beyond the sea. God, I love all that music. The Rat Pack. I love the Lounge Lizard music. But no, not that Eddie Fisher. God damn it, Dave. No. Eddie Fisher pitched for the White Sox.
Yes.
In the mid-60s. He was actually an all-star for the White Sox in 1965, finishing 4th that year in the MVP voting. So, no, not a member of the Rat Pack.
A member of the Sox Pack.
And then, moving back to football, running back Eddie Hill. Eddie Hill was a running back for the Dolphins from 1981 to 1984. Did appear for the Rams in Super Bowl 14.
Yep. It's too young.
A lot of these guys. This is what scares me.
You never know.
Oh, Jesus. And here I am wasting my time doing a podcast. I did not say that out loud. I should be out in Vegas at the Chicken Ranch.
So you keep saying.
Every last dime I have will go into the Chicken Ranch. Sorry, Cassidy.
Are you taking up a residency?
Yeah. If I could. Oh, my God. Yeah.
For one whole week?
Yeah. Yep. I'll announce it. I'll send out a press release to Rolling Stone. The Maestro's taking up residency in the Chicken Ranch. May the 24th through the 31st. And when he comes back,
he'll be on.
Just give him fluids for 2 weeks to get him back in podcast shape. I'm telling you, it's coming.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I set that one up, didn't I? Well, like I said, no dumbasses, so there you go, kids.
That's your podcast.
But, again, we're not done yet.
The weekend edition Saturday morning.
It's going to be fun, and unfortunately, I have a feeling it's going to be more of the same. A lot of moments of silences to go through, tributing the fallen in the world of pop culture. And God help me, maybe not any dumbasses this week.
I know, it's been awfully damn quiet.
What, people are actually acting sane and reasonable?
Yeah, well, the Oscars are coming up, so they're trying to be on their best behavior so they don't ruin their chances.
So that means next week.
Yes. We'll have triple the usual.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened. That's what happened. We didn't have any moments of silence last week in either the sports or the weekend edition, and now look at
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so this is the way life ebbs and flows. All right, kids. That's your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador Dave Height.
That's your Uncle Kev, the Maestro Kevin Crane.
Trying to schedule his residency at the Chicken Ranch as soon as humanly possible before the money runs out.
That's right. Say goodnight to the kids, Kev.
Say goodnight to the kids, Kev, as I will be at the Chicken Ranch May the 24th through the 31st for my residency. Until then, see ya on the weekend edition.